Alrighty, hello. We're back at it again tonight. We're going to try to move ahead a little bit so we can finish up World War II definitely by the end of the week. We are short on time, so we're going to be doing a lot of these as we move through the last month to get us ready for the SAT. So I want to go back to where we left off today in 43. From November to December, we will hold the 43. We will hold the third of the conferences. First one's the Atlantic Conference, then the Casablanca Conference, then the Tehran Conference. Now, this is in Tehran, Iran. This is the first meeting of what's called the Big Three. And by that, we've had already a couple meetings where FDR and Churchill have met. This is the first time they will look eyeball to eyeball with Joseph Stalin. They will confirm to him, because he is so furious that we have not opened a second front, that we are opening a second front in the spring of 44, that there's a plan to invade southern France. And from Stalin, we will exact a promise that after the war, he will join the United States in its fight against Japan once Germany is defeated. The key thing here was to take a look really at one another and to basically try to find out how to get full cooperation and assistance from the Soviet Union. You know, the cost of getting this full cooperation is going to be very simple. They are going to require that Roosevelt and Churchill would support him as the leader of the Soviet Union, that the partisans and also the partisans in Yugoslavia, and that we would allow for adjustments to the border between Poland and the USSR. Now, nobody explained what those adjustments were. Nobody quite, I guess, pushed it, or maybe we didn't want to know, but we were willfully, uninterested in figuring that out. Because Iran at this point, as we'll talk about shortly, is going to be a really critical area after the war. And it's going to be one of the primary modes by which we are able to get our supplies to the Soviet Union. If you look at a map where Iran is sitting, what we will do is we'll basically get oil and supplies, the Lend-Lease supplies, to the Soviet Union by way of Iran. So the relationship with Iran, and we had a good relationship with the Shah at that point, and so that's what we're trying to do. The Gothic line, you're going to see some advancement here in Italy. You're going to see us move a little further north here up near Florence, but we're still unable to do it. In some ways, what we're doing by this action here in Italy is sort of trying to show that we're busy in multiple areas so that they don't focus too much on what is the plan for us to attack in on the D-Day on the French coast. We also liberate Rome on June 5th of 1944, which is basically the beginning of the end for the Italian fascists. Now, I want to spend this note today, and what we're doing in this sort of take home is on D-Day. So the word D-Day, by the way, means nothing. It's not what the names. It doesn't really have a significant meaning, but it's the day that we'll use in terms of the day we're going to begin our operation. So it is the goal of D-Day is to open a second front. So, and we need to do it in a surprise attack. Up until this point in time, the wolf packs, those groups of ships or submarines that have been sort of attacking the undersea, the U-boats have been attacking all over the Atlantic. We are losing ships left and right. The Soviet Union is angry. They want us to come in. There's a stalemate in Italy. So Operation Overlord is the name of the ship. Now, what we plan is the largest invasion force in the history of the planet. Here is England. If you take a look at the map here. So here's England. This is where Dover is, and there is the city of Calais. This is going to be our primary area where we are going to attempt to distract the British, or excuse me, basically get the Nazis to believe the attack is coming at Calais. When in fact, if you look down here near Cherbourg, right there, this right here is where the attack is actually going to occur. You hold for a second. Need to put this on pause. Okay, so we're back. So again, we choose this coast here. It's called the Normandy coast of France because for a couple of reasons. A, it was the least likely place, one of the least likely places we would come in. It's an area that suffers from very heavy surf. It's a long ways. It's a huge area to cross the channel to go unnoticed, to try to sneak attack, which they expected we would come. And it's just very unlikely in an area that people believed we would attack from, or at least the Germans. Now, the Germans had also, basically set up fortifications just in case all the way along here. So Calais is where they expect it's coming, directly across from Dover. This down here near Cherbourg is where we're actually going to be coming in, right here in this region right here. Okay, it was a little bit protected. You can see sort of the geographic protections there. There's Paris right there. This is what the assault will look like. Okay, so we hear famously about the Omaha beaches. This is where we land. The Americans and a few Canadians will land here. These are the most significant areas of casualties. It happened to be the most fortified areas and the areas where there was the least amount of protections, or excuse me, we tried to disable the guns and they were successful at disabling. In some places they were not able to disable them here. So you can see where the plane routes are flying. This is where the ships will come from. They will hit and then they will land with the assault here. Just to give you an idea of how fortified it is, Hitler referred to his Atlantic coast, his coastal system of protection, as his Atlantic Wall, Fortress Europe. And if you look here at this, and we're going to go through these, this was what we were going to encounter when we land at Omaha Beach. So they started out here. Now, if you look, this is how the tides work. Low tide, the beach is going to come here. High tide, it's going to come all the way up here. So we're going to try to plan a time when we can come in at high tide, hoping that it's going to bring us up and over many of these, things, these kinds of devices that they have established and set up to hurt us and blow up our ships and things like that. So they use these things called Belgian gates that look like this, which were basically these fortifications that if a ship pulls in, it basically rips the bottom out of a ship. They're often mined, so they go off. They've got hedgehogs, which look like this, which are basically steel beams crossed around each other. They kind of look like jacks. So, when you do the jacks game, they did posts that they would dig in the ground that were mined. They would do these log ramps that were mined, more hedgehogs, a sea dune. They've got all kinds of concertina wire along here. And then up here, you've got, 200-foot cliffs. And up on top of the cliffs are the guns shooting down over the beach. So when our ships come in, they're going to come in here with the idea of they still have to get across whatever they can to try to then go up the wall. Okay, Rommel expects the attack to come near Calais. Okay, again, the attack they're expecting is going to come up here. They've heavily fortified the area. They've got traps and pillboxes and armaments and reserves ready to go. Okay, this looks like what the hedgehogs look like. These are those steel beams kind of twisted around each other. Levels, sort of rows and rows of mined posts. And you can see at the top of them, there's explosives. So you think about a ship coming in, and here's the post. You think about a ship coming in, all it has to do is touch that post, and it explodes. So they're going to keep